It's looking pretty good for Super Mario RPG, the remake of the original Super Mario RPG from the 1990s, coming out on Nintendo Switch on November 17th. The early reviews are in, and so far the praise is glowing. Now, it would be hard to mess up such a classic game, but we know that studios tend to mess up remakes. Nintendo, not one of those studios. I don't think Nintendo's ever really botched a remake, but we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about some of the early reviews, and this is one I'm probably going to pick up in the very near future as soon as it's available. I did not get a preview copy. Thanks, Nintendo. I didn't get a preview copy. They gave them out apparently to a lot of other media outlets, but whatever. Before we get into it any further, give the channel a sub if you haven't done so already. We do cover gaming news. We do gameplay videos. We talk about video games, just video games. We talk about video games and video game adjacent stuff here on Clownfish Gaming. So the first review, this is NintendoLife. Hands-on, Super Mario RPG is the most faithful remake we've ever played, Alana Hughes says on NintendoLife. And they've given it a very good review. If you go all the way to the end here. So apparently they got 3 hours. 3 hours? Is that what they gave him? Nintendo gave him? All in all, the first 3 hours of Super Mario RPG's Switch remake have reminded us of just how delightful the original was. The SNES game is timeless, and so far the Switch remake retains that level of excellence that we experienced in 1996. If it manages to retain the charm and joy all the way through, all while sprinkling in a few little touches throughout, then I reckon every Mario fan, or Super Mario RPG fan, will have their wish come true on the 17th of November. So there haven't been any major changes to the game other than graphics, right? There are some new additions, though. So combat is where most of the new additions have come in, and so far they slot in perfectly to the gameplay loop. If you time your action command just right, not only will you do extra damage, but you'll also do splash damage to the rest of your opponents. If you get really good at this, it's not as easy as it sounds, then turn-based encounters become breezy, fast-paced affairs that are over in seconds. That was kind of the case with the original, too. It was very fast-paced combat. While this doesn't factor in much during the early game, depending on the characters in your active party, you'll get a party buff if you manage to chain perfectly timed hits together, and there are triple moves. So it seems like they've upgraded the combat quite a bit. I think for the most part, though, it is essentially the same game. They said that there are some mini games. They said that the remake retains the 3D-esque environments, the pre-rendered environments. Each location and screen is small, but now you can use the full 360 degrees. So you can rotate the camera on this one compared to the pre-rendered graphics, which were a big thing on the Super NES at the end of its life cycle. For those of you who weren't around back then, we had Donkey Kong Country, and we had several other games that were using pre-rendered graphics. Super Mario RPG, obviously, and Square would go on to use those pre-rendered graphics in Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Then they've reissued those, and I wish they would have actually made the backgrounds 3D too, because it's kind of weird to have these like high definition foreground characters and then this like basically a GIF from the 1990s in the background. But I digress. So it sounds like it's pretty good according to NintendoLife. IGN, Super Mario RPG, the final preview. The remake faithfully creates a classic while breathing new life into its combat. So again, this is just a preview. They said that none of the changes feel like a total reinvention or anything. I don't think they should, according to the reviewer. Instead, they simply freshen up and flesh out a fun combat system that was probably gathering a little dust by now, especially when similar games like Sea of Stars have recently introduced their own twists on timing-heavy, turn-based RPG combat. I need to play Sea of Stars. Everybody says how good it is. It looks like an unofficial follow-up to Chrono Trigger. So far, I'm glad to see that Super Mario RPG has been able to balance its faithful recreation of one of my favorite games with a willingness to improve where it counts. So that would be the combat. Let's see what GamesRadar says. The Super Mario RPG remake is absolutely faithful to the original Mario JRPG in every way. Oh my God, pop-ups. Is absolutely faithful to the original Mario JRPG in every way, except the ways that are better left in the 90s. Here you can see a side-by-side screen comparison. It looks very, very faithful. Kind of reminds me of what Square Enix is doing with Star Ocean, where it definitely has gotten an upgrade, except I think the sprites are still 2D with Star Ocean. So they said that some of the Easter eggs are intact. They said, against every expectation I had, the game even retains the infamous little Easter egg where you can make Mario rifle through Peach's bedroom in order to find some sort of unmentionable item labeled only as question mark, question mark, question mark. Super Mario RPG is deeply weird, even by the standards of Mario role-playing games, and the remake loses none of the bizarre vibes. It looks very, very close. Again, they talk about combat being different. Combat is really the only aspect of the game that's seen changes beyond simple quality of life tweaks. All of your attacks still do bonus damage if you press a button at the correct moment, and now you get much clearer indicators of when to time your button presses. Kind of sounds like Paper Mario, right? None of these changes fundamentally alter the flow or feel of combat, but they do give you a lot more to think about when you're fighting. I have no idea how these systems will work in the more challenging late game encounters. Again, these folks were only given the first 3 hours of the game. You'll also occasionally encounter specially labeled enemies with massively increased hit point counts, and they effectively serve as mini bosses to help spice up random encounters. Okay, that's kind of interesting. You can get frog coins, a special currency used to buy powerful items for defeating them, which makes the currency far easier to farm in the remake. So their closing thoughts on GamesRadar: Super Mario RPG is shaping up to be a fascinating remake. It does far more than simply offer a modernized visual retouch, but it makes its changes without any dramatic change to the flow and spirit of the original game. This is WCCF Tech. And they said, Super Mario RPG hands-on impressions exploring a leveled up classic. So again, they were only given the first couple of hours of the game. They said that despite the graphical update, the old school charm of the original Super Mario RPG is retained. While the game now offers up the occasional full-on pre-rendered cutscene, most of the game's story is still delivered via isometric visuals and intentionally choppy retro animations. This still feels like a 16-bit RPG, even if it's miles apart visually. The excellent soundtrack from the Super NES game also returns, with players being able to switch between the classic tracks and the new score. So this return to gameplay, the well-liked turn-based combat system of the original returns. Players can perform any array of regular special attacks, yada, 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 and they talk about maxing it out. Now, here are their closing thoughts. While I have more to play, Super Mario RPG already feels like the ideal video game remake, and that it doesn't just feel like the original, but the idealized version that sat on a pedestal in my mind all these years. That's the thing. People always put their retro goggles on when viewing media that they grew up with, right? Reviewing media. There are lots of movies that I have very fond memories of as a kid, and I watch them today, and I'm like, if I was watching this for the first time now, I'd probably think it's pretty cringy. There are a lot of really fantastic video games that I played when I was a kid, and I was really into JRPGs. Like, my first JRPG was Phantasy Star 2, and it's really not that accessible. Going back to it now, I'm like, the game is really hard. It's really confusing. It's really damn hard. The dungeons are so damn hard. And there's a lot of grinding. And it would turn a lot of people off. And the story is there, but it's barely there. Like, they would do a much better job with Phantasy Star 4. I think Phantasy Star 4 is kind of the idealized version of the Phantasy Star series, but like 2 and even 1, they're put on this pedestal, and as much as I love those games, like I can't imagine giving either the Phantasy Star 1 or 2 to a younger player that would have been my age when the game came out, 10 or 12 or whatever, and be like, here, you play this and tell me what you think. They'd be like, what the hell is this? And Super Mario RPG, everybody's like, oh, it's like the best game ever, because for a lot of people, it was probably one of their first RPGs. I mean, if you're not counting Zelda, if they were just Nintendo fans, and you're not counting Final Fantasy games, I think a lot of people picked this up over Final Fantasy because it was a much easier game. It was Mario, and it was kind of the lead-in, I think, to like Final Fantasy VII for a lot of people. And people do have nostalgia goggles, I think, for a lot of these titles. But it's interesting that they're saying this is like the idealized version. The oddball off-brand charm and surprising engagement combat or engaging combat of the original game is retained and elevated with gorgeous new visuals and a myriad of tweaks that make everything feel just a little more playable and modern. While I can't render my final verdict yet, I feel confident saying both existing fans and those who have never played it are in for a star-studded experience. So yeah, these are just, there are no official reviews yet. These are just early impressions, and they're really, really good. So I think the game is going to be fine, guys. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to sell very well. So we're getting Super Mario RPG and Mario Wonder in the same year, within like a month. So just think about that. That's wild. And we got a Mario movie. So it's a good year to be a Mario fan. That's all I'm saying. It's a very good year to be a fan of Super Mario. I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. It's been fun. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to see more, please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. And check out more videos on the channel, including Let's Plays and art and animation videos here on Clownfish Gaming.
Now he's just tasty, delicious, rotten flesh meat, which I can consume. Don't read into it too much.
Just like our museum, the cafe's open and Brewster is eager to serve.
I don't think this was in the show. Run, 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 run. Oh, you got splatted.
Oh,
she was begging and you kicked her in the face.
I don't care!
Hey guys, Squid King here, and today we're in a—
Not girl boss, not girl boss at all. She is not a material girl.
She is not. Oh, it's Christmas time here in your mom. Nobody wants to join your mom.
What?
Like I can't even cook kid cuisine right. I would last about 2 minutes with Gordon Ramsay.
What?
Where is he?
He's hiding. He's hiding from you.
Better.
Oh my God, you got the axe.
Walker, does this look like Steven Universe? Let me punch him! Well, I'm just here for the wax. Right where you belong.
Get in the dirt.
Well, that was a combination of events I probably shouldn't have put together. Anyways, let's open this bottle too.
Chica Pinata. Is that official?
Oh, no.
There's a bootleg.
Hello. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, it's Diamond Tool.
Let's make a farm.
Like and subscribe and buy my merch.
I mean, while you're here, you guys should like really like and subscribe and buy our merch, all of which we have.
That is true. You can't run them carrying trash. You can get away with one F-bomb per PG-13 movie.
I wish I'd known that sooner.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap this effer up.
Yes.